So you're following this right now. Zelensky's in the middle of this news conference. What's he saying
Yeah.
there?
Well, he's trying to. The most interesting thing he said, actually, he's trying to shrug off all this sort of hoo-ha and this row with Donald Trump. You know, the one where Donald Trump called him a dictator, and he's laughed that off quite well.
How do you laugh off being called a dictator by the
He
world's
said
most
only
powerful man?
he said he wasn't offended. Only a dictator would take offence at that sort of thing. He's a democratically elected leader. But he did say something. He did say something very, very interesting. He said he was willing to give up the presidency for if Ukraine got NATO membership, which is a curious thing to say and very generous for him, and not quite the discussion. But it does tell you how important it is for Ukraine to have meaningful security guarantees and some kind of peace. Otherwise there's a real risk that we'll be at war again in 5 to 10 years' time when Russia comes back and tries to have another nibble. That is if we get a peace settlement this time round.
And do you think that Zelensky is in part saying that because he thinks that Trump wants him to stand down?
Well, I think there's something in what you say. Donald Trump sees the world in interpersonal terms, and he just seems to like Vladimir Putin, an autocrat and a dictator, more than President Zelensky, a democratically elected politician. And I think this dates back from his previous presidency, and their relationship has been always rather difficult. He doesn't seem to feel comfortable with him. No.
Why?
Well, I think some of this is to do with the arcana about whether Zelensky was going to be helpful enough about dirt on Hunter Biden. Remember, Joe Biden's son used to have a work in Ukraine, and this is all from the previous presidency. But also, Trump just seems to get on better with autocrats. He's always got on very well with Vladimir Putin, and that's always made a lot of advisors and people around the US president very uncomfortable. And here we are. We've got a situation where Trump seems to want to have a one-on-one discussion or meeting with Putin to end the war. The trouble is that Ukraine is a party to this war. It's Russia invaded Ukraine, of course, as we all know, and Ukraine's sort of fighting basically to preserve its independence. So we're in an odd scenario, but Zelensky's trying to be, humorous and trying to make things, trying to calm things down a bit after they got a little out of control in the middle of the week with this spat with this dictator spat with Trump. So that's what he's trying to do.
And in the meantime, America is talking to Russia. It's trying to water down language in communiques that suggest Russia is an aggressor. And it has just launched 267 attack drones against Ukraine. How does America respond to that? What is Russia trying to say with that attack?
Well, I think, but clearly we know the Kremlin doesn't appear to be wanting peace, does it? I mean, I know they say they want to have negotiations with the US, and that's because they see all kinds of, other benefits. If they can try and persuade the US to cut off all military aid suddenly to Ukraine, it would make the battlefield position a lot better. The fact that, one of the points about this war is that it's not really the case that Ukraine can have an effective ceasefire tomorrow by stopping shooting itself, because Russia is the aggressor here, and Russia constantly attacks and firing.
How does America respond to that? America's sitting down talking to Russia, and Russia launches 267 attack drones. Do the US not think, well, they're not respecting our situation?
I think the US seems to have the ability to kind of ignore this or tune it out and then sort of carry on with this bilateral negotiation. In that respect, it's quite extraordinary. You would think if Russia was serious about peace, it would be reducing the number of drone attacks or trying to sort of calm things down on the front line. But in fact, just the reverse. Russia seems to think that it's got Ukraine on the ropes a bit and wants to press home its advantage by attacking both on the ground and in the air, as we're discussing.
And where does this go? I actually spoke to David Cameron when he was Foreign Secretary before the election last year and asked him about exactly this. What if Trump comes in and tries to force Ukraine to cede territory? And Cameron's response to me was to say, if he does that, the message to Putin is come back for more, and Putin will come back for more. Is that the sense of what will happen?
Yeah, well, that's right. There's a slightly one step ahead, because I think the first thing that's going to happen is, are we going to get are we going to get some kind of peace deal, and what might that look like? And clearly, there's a lot of diplomatic activity here. I mean, Russia is pressing ahead on the battlefield and has a slight advantage. Ukraine is tired, and they've lost a lot of their best people in the war. Of course, of course, they want a peace. The problem is because Russia feels it's slightly ahead, it keeps pushing. It wants all sorts of favors out of America. Maybe removal of NATO troops from Eastern Europe. Who knows what? The demilitarization of Ukraine, a commitment that Ukraine never become a member of NATO. If you can get these things, well, that'd be good for Russia, but bad for Ukraine and Eastern Europe. That's not a very stable solution, for example.